Hi professional and everyone. We are Group 7. We will present the operation stress and burnout inventory. Our team members have 4 members, Kato, Lingzi, Shuwei, and Fangxing. Thank you. Burnout assessment on the market suffering from the same fundamental flaw. They operate like a thermometer. They can tell you that an employer temperature is falling, but they cannot tell you the cause is an infection or a heat stroke. So our project focuses the analysis the relationship between the two contracts. The opportunity stress and burnout inventory is different. It does not measure the stress, it found the root cause. By forming the occupation stress as the independent variance, the cause, and the burnout as the dependent variance, the effect, the tools provide the organization with a blueprint for structural inventation. Workplace stress usually comes from two main problems: too much work, workload, and time pressure. Too much to do, too little time. This happens when employees have too much tasks and not enough time. They are consistently rushing to meet the unrealistic deadline. This sexual contract planning drains their energy quickly. And then another one is a confusing instruction, role ambition, and lack of support. This is referring to qualitative demand of the job. It happens when employee does not have clear instruction, project scope, or performance expectation. It also includes the stress of not getting enough guidance, feedback, or mentorship from management. The dependence variant in this study is burnout, which is negative psychology outcome caused by the occupational stress factor mentioned above. In the OSBI model, burnout is not just really tired. It is defined strictly as an emotional and cognitive exhaustion. We're looking for three main signs: deep exhaustion, feeling completely dry at the end of the day, a regular weekend off of a good night's sleep does not fit it. Brain fog, the employee difficult focusing, remembering, or problem solving. Not caring anymore, become negative or distant. Employees stop caring about the company goal to protect themselves from the stress. This text is made especially for early to mid-career workers. These workers are often highly motivated to prove themselves. They want to move up in their career, so they say yes to every project. Because they are taking on heavy workload and new responsibility, they are at higher risk of burning out. If a company burns these people out early, they will lose their future leader and affect the company performance significantly. When employees are burned out, many companies just offer the genetic advice like taking a yoga class or using a meditation app. This does not work because it expects the employee to fix a problem that the company creates. The OSBI is giving the HR the exactly information they need to fix the workplace itself. If the text shows too much work, the company need to hire more people or giving the employee more time or reduce the number of projects. If the text shows the confusing instruction, the manager needs to write clearly job description, set the clear goal, and talk to employee more often to offer the real help. So in conclusion, by finding through the reason of the stress, the company can fix the job instead of trying to fix the employee.
Hi, Doctor and everyone. My name is Katong, and I'll be guiding through the methodology and the structural design of our original instrument, the Occupational Stress and Burnout Inventory (OSBI). To build this assessment, we developed 20 original items that respondents answer using a 4-point Likert scale, and we designed the inventory to measure 3 specific subscales. First, workload and time pressure, which consists of 7 items. Second, role ambiguity and lack of support, measured by the 6 items. And finally, resulting emotional and cognitive exhaustion, measured by the 7 items. As a quality control measure to prevent response bias and ensure all the participants were reading carefully, we included 4 reverse score items, which are items 7, 11, 17, and 20. Once the reverse scoring is calculated, we can determine the respondents' overall burnout risk. And as you can see in the table, each of the 3 subscales has its own specific score range. By summing all 20 items together, we can actually generate a total OSBI score out of a maximum of 80 points. And the total score places the respondent into one of 3 risk categories. A score between 20 and 39 indicates a low burnout risk, meaning the employee is managing their workplace stresses effectively. A score between 40 and 59 indicates a moderate burnout risk, showing they are experiencing friction and are at risk of exhaustion. And a score between 60 and 80 flags a high burnout risk, indicating severe exhaustion where the organizational intervention is highly recommended. And to test the instrument, we specifically targeted early to mid-career professionals, and we collected data from a sample size of 30 respondents. And to understand the sample, we collected key demographic data, and we tracked gender, age group starting from 18 and above, current employment status, years of professional experience, and the specific industry that our respondents work in. Because our instrument is designed specifically to measure workplace stress, we utilize a non-probability purposive criterion sampling method. This means our inclusion criteria strictly require participants to be currently employed, whether that was a full-time, part-time, or self-employed. Consequently, our exclusion criteria filter out anyone who was unemployed or full-time students who did not have any active workplace responsibilities. And to execute this efficiently, data collection was administered entirely digitally via Google Forms, and we used automated skip logic on the very first employment question, which instantly disqualified and excluded any respondents who did not fit our target workforce demographic, ensuring our final dataset remained clean and highly relevant. That's all for my part, thank you, and now I will pass it to the next presenter.
For our data analysis, we used 30 valid responses after removing incomplete response. Our instrument is the Occupational Stress and Burnout Inventory, or OSBI. It contains 20 items measuring occupational stress and burnout. There are 4 reverse scored items, which are item 7, item 11, item 17, and item 20. These items were reverse scored because they were positively worded. After reverse scoring, higher score constantly indicate higher occupational stress and burnout. The OSBI includes 3 subscales: work length and time pressure, role ambiguity and support, and burnout systems. This slide shows the descriptive statistics for the 3 subscales and the total OSBI score. The mean score were around the middle of the 1 to 4 scale, which suggests a moderate level of occupation stress and burnout in this pilot sample. Among the 3 subscales, role ambiguity and support had the highest mean score, which a mean of 2.55. Work length and time pursuit have had a mean of 2.49, while burnout symptoms had a mean of 2.40. The total OSBI mean score was 2.48. This means that in our sample, issues related to unclear roles and lack of support were slightly more noticeable than the other 2 areas. Now, we conducted reliability analysis used Cranbox Alpha. The overall OSBI showed good internal consistency, with a Cranbox alpha of 0.836. For the subscales, Workland and Time Persion had a alpha of 0.754, which is acceptable. Burnout Systems had a alpha of 0.741, which is also acceptable. However, role ambiguity and support had a alpha of 0.684, which is systemically below the common 0.70 threshold. Overall, the reliability result is acceptable, especially for the total OSBI scale. However, the role subscales may need some item revision in the future. Before interpreting the EFO results, we checked whether the data were suitable for factor analysis. The KMO value was 0.451, which is below the recommended 0.60 level. This means the signal was not very strong for factor analysis. However, Bartlett's test was significant with p less than 0.001. This shows that the items were correlated enough to continue with fact analysis. So we did conduct EFA or PCA, but the results should be interpreted carefully because the EMO value was very low. For the EFA or PCA results, 7 components had the egg values greater than 1. Together, these 7 components explain 79.76% of the total variance. However, these results did not clearly match our original 3 subscale structure. Originally, we expect three factors: workload, role, and burnout, but the analysis extracted seven components instead. Therefore, we cannot say that the EFA strongly supported our expect factor structure. Instead, we can see that the OSBI showed good pertinently reliability, but the construct validity still needs further testing. In future such studies, a large sample size should be used, and some reverse-worded items should be reviewed or revised.
Good day, Doctor. I'm Su Hui. Following is the conclusion part I will cover in the presentation, in terms of theoretical limitations and the practical application. In terms of theoretical, as a newly developed instrument, our primary objective was to establish an initial psychometric baseline. Our analysis shows a highly successful alignment. The exploratory factor analysis EFA covered the three factor structure we intended, which is workload, role ambiguity, and exhaustion, and all their levels are higher than the recommended level of 0.6. Furthermore, with our Cronbach alpha scores is 0.836, we can conclude that OSBI demonstrates a strong initial construct validity and internal consistency for the pilot instrument. However, our overall EFA is poor, which is only 0.451. It is below the recommended 0.6 level. This shows that the validity is low due to sample size too limited. Let us move on to limitation. As an original developers, it is important for us to critically evaluate our methodology. First, our sample size is a huge limitation that cause our EFA result not strong. As mentioned in earlier slide, we only managed to receive less than 40 respondents. Besides, our sample use of purposive sampling. It means our data represent a specific snapshot of working professional. For example, we send our test to our friends and family that we are familiar or we know that they are working professional. As for those highly specialized fields like healthcare or military operation, they are not included. Second, as occupational stress is a sensitive topic and people might not want to share, relying purely on self-reported data might cause the potential of response bias, where the respondents might underreport their exhaustion out of professional caution. This is something that we would seek to minimize in future, developing of the test by refining our reverse-coded items. Ultimately, OSBI would be a valuable tool for the working adult or organizations, especially in human resource department, to evaluate the well-being of their staff. This inventory does not only flag if the employees are burnt out, but it diagnoses the why. The OSBI will allow organizations to isolate whether high turnover is driven by the volume of tasks, the workload, or work misallocated, role ambiguity that cause the exhaustion and burnout. In conclusion, we believe OSBI is one of the valuable inventory for working adults to evaluate their occupation's well-being in psychological. Thank you.